House has already come to order. Those persons not having privilege of the floor will please vacate the chamber. Members and guests in the galleries will please rise as we are led in prayer this morning by Alex McCormick. Alex is a student at Elk Valley Christian School and a guest of the gentleman of the 61st District, Delegate Jeffries.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for the day that you've given us, Lord. Lord, thank you for being the good, gracious God that you are, Lord, and dying on the cross for us, Lord Jesus. Lord, I pray, Lord, that we be with this meeting right here, Lord. I pray, Lord, that you have these delegates make God-honoring decisions, Lord. Lord, let them have camaraderie like Moses when his arms were held up by Aaron, Lord, God of heaven. Lord, I love you, Lord. Lord, be with our governor, Lord. Be with our Secretary of State, Lord. With all the assistants, Lord. Be with everybody in this Capitol building, Lord. Lord, and we pray, Lord, that you just have your arms wrapped around them, Lord, and Lord, let them make good, God-honoring decisions, Lord Jesus. I thank you, Lord, God of heaven. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Please remain standing as we are led in the Pledge of Allegiance today by the gentleman of the 75th District, Delegate Mallow.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues and guests, please join me in the pledge to our flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Members and guests may be seated. Reading of the Journal.
Journal of the House of Delegates, March 3rd, 2026.
Gentleman of the 61st, Delegate Jeffries.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that the further reading of the Journal be dispensed with and that it be approved as being having read.
Gentleman from the 61st District asks unanimous consent that further reading of the Journal be dispensed with and that it be approved as having been read. Are there objections? There are no objections heard. Further reading of the Journal will be dispensed with. Introductions. Introductions. Gentleman from the 65th, Delegate Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today in the West Gallery, from the 18th Judicial Circuit Community Corrections Program, which serves Lewis and Upshur counties, we have Treatment Coordinator Samantha Matos, Lewis County Case Manager Jessica Stanley, and Upshur County Case Manager Cody Hanna. If the House will please make them feel welcome.
Lady from the 9th, Delegate Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today in the South Gallery, I have some very special guests. I have my two daughters, Isabella Kelly and Willow Shingleton, and my better half, Christopher Shingleton. If you would please stand and make them feel welcome.
Are there further introductions? If not, yes, gentleman in the 30th, Delegate Eldridge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today we have Kendall, Hannah, and Kaylee, one from Lincoln, one from Cabell, and Kaylee is from Berkeley, and we have Zach Garrett and Priley Lyers, professors of the athletic training for Marshall University. If you all please stand, we make them feel welcome.
Are there further introductions? If not, report to standing committees.
Your Committee on Education has had under consideration a committee substitute for Senate Bill 694, removing county residency requirement for county superintendent of schools, and reports the same back with the recommendation and committee substitute do pass.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on Education has had under consideration Senate Bill 155 relating to adjunct teaching permits and reports the same back with amendment. The recommendation that the bill do pass as amended.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on the Judiciary has had under consideration a committee substitute for Senate Bill 137 modifying parole eligibility for crime of second-degree murder and voluntary manslaughter, and reports the same back with amendment with the recommendation that committee substitute do pass as amended.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on Energy and Public Works has had under consideration committee substitute for Senate Bill 467, allowing enforcement of Purple Heart parking spaces taken by non-Purple Heart recipients, and Senate Bill 712, allowing installation of cattle guards on certain public roads, and reports the same back with amendment with the recommendation that each do pass as amended.
Report will be received.
Your Committee on Energy and Public Works has had under consideration Committee Substitute for Senate Bill 243, establishing disaster repair and recovery effort tax credit for taxpayers subject to severance and business privilege tax in certain circumstances, and reports the same back with amendment with the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass as amended, but first be referred to your Committee on Finance.
The report will be received and the bill will be referred to the Committee on Finance.
Your Committee on Energy and Public Works has had under consideration a committee substitute for the committee substitute for Senate Bill 426, preventing damage to underground facilities, and reports the same back with amendment and the recommendation that the committee substitute do pass as amended.
The report will be received.
Your Committee on Finance has had under consideration committee substitute for Senate Bill 592, West Virginia Short Line Railroad Modernization Act, and reports the same back with recommendation the committee substitute do pass.
The report will be received. Do we have other standing committee reports at this time? If not, select committee reports, executive messages, Senate messages, resolutions, petitions, bills introduced, motions. From the 5th.
I move that the House now proceed to the 14th order of business and that the constitutional rule requiring that each bill be read on 3 separate occasions be suspended, and for the limited purpose of having Com Sub 5669 be read a second time in advance to third reading with a general right to amend.
Gentleman from the 5th moves that the House proceed immediately to the 14th order of business, which is bills on first reading, and that the constitutional rule requiring that committee substitute for House Bill 5669 be dispensed with, and that the bill be read a second time and advanced to third reading with the general right to amend. This is a rule suspension vote. We will take the vote by roll call. Those in favor of adoption of the gentleman's motion will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, we have 52 ayes, 40 nays, and 7 members absent. There are less than 4/5 of the members having voted in the affirmative. The chair declares the motion lost. Are there further motions? Unfinished business? Bills on third reading?
House Joint Resolution 42, Homestead Exemption.
The question before the House is, shall the joint resolution be adopted? Gentleman of the 12th to explain the joint resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This proposed amendment to the West Virginia Constitution would increase the amount of the homestead exemption from property taxes on the homes of eligible taxpayers. The homestead exemption is a partial exemption from property tax on your home if you are 65 years of age or older, or if you are permanently and totally disabled. All property taxes are levied on the assessed value of your home, which is 60% of your appraised value. If you are eligible for the homestead exemption, $20,000 is subtracted from your home assessed value before the property taxes are imposed on the remaining balance of your assessed value. If approved by the majority of the voters in November, the amount of subtracted from the assessed value before taxes will be levied will be $50,000. Mr. Speaker, I urge adoption.
The question is on adoption of the joint resolution. Is there debate on that on the House Joint Resolution 42? Gentleman of the 25th, Douglas Hornbuckle, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the chairman yield? Yes, sir. If this is adopted upon a ballot, what would be the net effect to our state's revenues?
Nothing to the state revenue.
So it would have no effect on our state budget or any collections?
Wait, excuse me, in error. The estimated revenue loss would be roughly $17 million to the state general revenue fund.
17?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Lady from the 5th, gentleman from the 80th, Douglas Williams, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So $17 million to the state. Is there any loss to the counties?
Yes, $24 million to local county boards, school boards, $16 million to county commissions, $4 million to municipalities.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You're welcome.
Question still is on adoption of House Joint Resolution 42. Is there further debate on the joint resolution? Gentleman, the 37th, like Gearhart is recognized.
Thank you. Could I ask the chairman to yield?
Sir.
Just to restate, this is, if adopted by both houses, this would be a question for the voters. Is that?
That is correct. That's what joint resolutions are.
The voters would have the opportunity to decide whether they want to be able to keep some of their own money or whether they want to extend that money to government. Is that fair?
That is fair.
How much money would the taxpayers be able to keep if, in fact, this was adopted and voted on favorably by the electorate in the state of West Virginia? You can beat the last set of numbers.
I don't have an estimate. I don't have a total.
$17 million?
It was $17 million of state general revenue fund.
Okay, plus whatever would have gone.
Whatever
to the
would go to the locals.
So they would be able to keep the same amount of money that, in fact, the questions earlier said that would go to different agencies of government.
That's exactly right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Gentleman, the 18th, Doug Butler is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to speak in favor of this resolution. I did a little bit of quick research last night to see if a person had a house that was worth about $100,000, depends on the tax levy rates, as I understand. It gets pretty complicated quickly. But it looks like it would reduce a person's income or their tax liability for a $100,000 house from somewhere around $800 a year down to maybe $200 a year. So significant savings for our people, according to my research. So I think this is a fantastic resolution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman, 98, Doug Funkhauser is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of this resolution. We have amended this provision of the Constitution 3 times. The last time was in the 1980s. Inflation has beyond 200% since this was last taken up and approved by the voters. We talk about affordability. We've got folks, seniors, that are barely hanging on, barely able to pay their grocery bills, let alone their property taxes. So I thank the body and the chairman for taking this up and urge adoption.
Is there further debate on House Joint Resolution 42? Lady from the 56th, Leggett Young.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the chairman yield for a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so $17 million in state revenue, about 24.5 to local boards of ed.
Yes.
And then how much to county commissions?
$16 million.
And 4 to municipalities?
And 4 to municipalities.
Okay, was there any conversation in finance? I'm supportive of the amendment, but was there any conversation of how that money is going to be backfilled to the local boards of education or the county commissions?
It would be up to the counties to reassess their mill rates. So on all other properties that are not owned by your primary residents for those that are above 65 years old.
So would everybody else's taxes go up?
There could be. It depends on the county commission and your boards of education on their mill levy rate.
And do they have any other levers to pull to bring in revenue for their schools and their sheriffs and?
Well, they could pass local bonds, operating bonds for the county or for the boards of education that they could use and assess those against the other properties. They have that ability. And obviously, there's several counties that are still not at the top mill rate for the county commissions or the boards of education.
Okay. Are most counties at those top mill rates?
I don't believe so.
Okay, I don't know either. Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Folks, I'm supportive of this because we've done not a lot to make life more affordable for West Virginians this year. So I'm excited to have this on the ballot, and I'm excited to let the voters actually choose something. I think they'll probably pass it because it's a good deal for folks over 65. I do worry that everybody else's property taxes are going to go up, and I worry that our boards of ed and our sheriffs and the rest of the county commissions might not be able to backfill that appropriately. So I'm cautiously optimistic, but excited to bring costs down for seniors. Thanks.
Gentleman, the 24th, Doug Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of this. Obviously, it promotes home ownership, and it also puts money back into the pockets of our senior citizens, and has my full support. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is there other debate on House Joint Resolution 42? Gentleman wish to close debate on the resolution. Gentleman, the 12th.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the gentleman alluded to from the 98th, the history on this homestead exemption started in November of 1973, and we exempted the first $5,000. In 1980, we passed an exemption to increase it to $10,000. And then in November of '82, we did up to $20,000. So it's been 46 years since we've adjusted this number. Now, getting back to the opportunity for counties to reevaluate, don't forget that in the school aid formula, when the local share goes down in the school aid formula, state revenues have to compensate for that. So as far as the boards of education, as we go along, we'll see what those numbers are. So I appreciate everybody's support that has talked about this. Again, it's been 46 years. I think it's time to do it again. I urge adoption of the joint resolution.
Debate on the resolution has been closed. The question now before the House is, shall the joint resolution be adopted? Those in favor of adoption of House Joint Resolution 42 will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Gentleman, the 43rd, Delegate Toney. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. There were 95 ayes, 0 nays, and 4 members absent. 2/3 of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the joint resolution adopted. Clerk will please report the title.
House Joint Resolution 42.
Are there amendments to the title? If not, the title of House Joint Resolution 42 will be as reported by the clerk. Clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4001, creating Team West Virginia Corporation.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass, or the objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? If not, gentleman, the 72nd, Delegate Riley, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill adds a new article to code which creates Team West Virginia, a non-stock, not-for-profit corporation formed by the governor for the purpose of promoting economic development, job creation, and the recruitment of businesses to the state. The bill provides for required provisions in the Articles of Incorporations and its qualifications for board members. Team West Virginia is not considered a state or public department, agency, office, body, or institution or instrumentality. The board will consist of 9 voting members, including 3 ex officio members consisting of the president of West Virginia University, the president of Marshall University, and the executive director of the West Virginia Investment Management Board. The remaining 6 members will be appointed by the governor. The governor may accept or reject anyone from the list submitted by the existing board members. The board members will be appointed and approved with advice and consent of the Senate. The bill also authorized the Secretary of Department of Commerce to execute a contract for Team West Virginia. This could include contracts for promoting and advocating for the state, making recommendations and performing research for Department of Commerce. All matters involving money and tax incentives remain a function of the Department of Commerce. Team West Virginia may not execute any contract obligating the Department of Commerce or the state of West Virginia as it relates to fiscal, tax, or incentive matters. The bill directs the Secretary of Commerce in consultation with the governor to review all powers of the duties of Commerce, the Division of Economic Development, and the Economic Development Authority to identify inefficiencies, duplication, gaps in authority, and recommend statutory changes or improvements to the authorization. The bill also authorized the state to enter into a contract to transfer to Team West Virginia all or part of the enterprise acquisition project for a price of not less than $30 million payable in monthly installments. The enterprise acquisition project is all or a portion of the capital or other assets in the distribution of spirits and merchandising operations of the Alcohol Beverage Control Commission relating to spirits. The agreement may not exceed 25 years. The Secretary of Revenue, in consultation with the Commerce, is authorized to negotiate the terms and conditions of any transfer agreement. And any transfer agreement must be in compliance and applicable provisions of West Virginia state law and the West Virginia Constitution. I urge passage.
You've heard the bill explained. The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? Gentleman from the 100th Thurgood Ridenhour is recognized on the bill.
Will the Vice Chairman yield?
I'll yield to you if you'll yield to me.
I sure will. Okay. So, as I understand it, we have a board made up of two individuals. One is the president of Marshall, the other is West Virginia University.
The initial board is 3 members. President of West Virginia University, President of Marshall University, and the Executive Director of the Investment Management Board.
And those individuals select who the list from which the governor is allowed to choose.
No, that's incorrect.
Okay.
Did you read how they, so what happens is they prepare a list
Right.
of 3 individuals. Those 3 individuals are submitted to the governor. As I said earlier, the governor may accept or reject from that list.
Okay.
The governor picks who serves on that board.
The governor picks from the list that those initial 3 members have selected, and then he gets to the new board of 6 members, then selects additional members or not? Is it just 6 members?
So if you read the bill, it says that the 6 members will be selected from the initial list. They will submit 3 names. 3 names have to be completely independent, so there will be 18 names on a list, 1 for each seat. 3 times 6 is 18. The governor can accept somebody from that list, or he can reject it and ask for a new list.
Okay.
And then he selects those board members.
Okay. At this point, we don't know who the future presidents of Marshall or West Virginia University are. We don't know if they have any kind of credentials that would give them the understanding of the economic issues within the state, do we?
Well, I disagree with that. So economic development is not about just business. It includes workforce. And so if we are really looking to engage our workforce and develop our workforce, you want those presidents of higher institutions to be engaged in economic development. And they were listed specifically because they are our 2 flagship universities.
Yeah, I would disagree with that, but that's a point of just debate. So,
but those other board members could they not be somebody else from Shepherd?
They could be, yes,
Okay.
I understand. And I'm not disputing that, and I think that is something that should be left up to the governor to decide if we in fact enact this bill.
And I think it is.
We're transferring, from what I can tell, back at the back end of the document, and forgive me because it's
You're fine.
a reasonably complex bill.
It is.
It's not a simple bill like we always get. The simple bills are 40
I
pages
try
long.
not to write simple bills,
Right.
sir.
Thank you. I appreciate that. State control of alcoholic liquors in Chapter 60-6-27.
Can you, Bill, can you, a little closer, I can hear. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. 60-6-27, we created a new article there, transfer of enterprise acquisition to Team West Virginia. Can you explain that to me? I'm trying to understand what that is doing. I don't want to mischaracterize.
Which
Chapter 60, state
which
control
page,
of
sir?
alcoholic liquors.
Give me quicker.
Yeah, I used Word to print this thing off, so it's page 26. It's at the back end. It's the last major article.
60-6-27. I'm there.
Okay. Can you explain the transfer and what that means?
So the transfer would be any portion or all of the enterprise acquisition project, and the acquisition project is any or all portion of capital or other assets of distributions of spirits, merchandising operations, commissions relating to inventory, real property rights, acquisitions for the furnishing and distribution of spirits and liquor.
Okay.
In summary.
Are you able to do that in English? I mean,
It's just in the definition under subsection A1, sir.
Yeah, but are we giving them the authority to collect revenues from the liquor?
They will be responsible for the they could be, if negotiated in the agreement, which is approved by the Secretary of Commerce in consultation with the Secretary of Revenue in consultation with the Secretary of Commerce. They could transfer part of the distribution as well as the receipts and the revenue from that enterprise acquisition, yes.
Okay, so they potentially, if the transfer is okayed, would be in charge or would be in receipt of those revenues?
It is possible, depending on the terms in the agreement of the transfer agreement, of which they will then pay for no less than $30 million.
Okay, where would those revenues go if they were not transferred per a potential agreement?
So essentially, those revenues would stay with the ABC under what they call liquor profits, of which were about 30 million, so which they would, now Team West Virginia is paying back to the state of West Virginia.
Right, but if we did not enact this bill, where would those funds go to?
The same place they go now.
General revenue?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
The liquor profits, of
Understand.
which the general revenue, so in the transfer agreement, Team West Virginia is to pay how much?
30 million, I think.
Okay, and where does it go?
That I was going to ask you.
I'm asking you.
Well, yeah, I yielded.
You did yield.
I don't know. And so I would ask you if you could help educate me.
Well, if you would read on down, it goes to general revenue.
Okay. So I think I understand that now. So I appreciate that education.
You're welcome.
This is always an educational event. So further back, if I could go to where it discusses the meetings and where it goes into how meetings are open to the public.
Yes, sir.
However, it does further state, and I have to get to the actual page, and I apologize.
You're fine. You'd be looking for about page 7.
Great, thank you. Let me just try and ask the question.
Yeah.
So it in here, and I can't get to the actual page. It appears to be that the information that the board may discuss can be in closed meetings, and the criteria seems to be pretty open to the board's interpretation. So they can close meetings to the public for several different reasons, and many of those relate to discussions with corporations that they may be engaging. Is that correct?
So those board meetings are open, and they could go into executive session.
Right, and in executive session, they can engage discussions that are not open to the public and open to public review, or frankly, even to the legislative review. Is that
Yes,
correct?
similar to the West Virginia Sunshine Law. Are you familiar with Sunshine Law, sir?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So what type of things are exempted in Sunshine Law?
Not sure, I can't recite them right offhand.
So things like legal contracts, things that may impose strategy.
I understand.
Those are similar things that you would see in this section.
And okay, I am back to where it's at. So any proprietary information belonging to potential applicants or potential recipients of business recruitment, those are things that potentially they could have a closed-door session on and not discuss.
Yeah, are you familiar with the West Virginia Economic Development Authority?
Yes.
Do you know what type of exemptions that they have within their statute?
No, I don't.
Would you be shocked to find out that there's similar exemptions to this?
No, I wouldn't.
And do you know that they regularly go to executive session to protect private proprietary information and protection of the board and companies?
Aware of that, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm not necessarily in full agreement with that, but I'm not in a debate.
Sure, no, it's not debate. It's just, it is already existing statute within an EDA authority, and I was just wanting to make sure you were aware of that.
I understand. And can you explain to me then what legislative oversight and executive oversight we would have over this team West Virginia?
Well, first, it's a board formed by the governor.
Right.
They provide annual reports to Secretary of Commerce, to the Joint Government Finance Speaker, the House President, the governor. The transfer agreement is signed by the Secretary of Revenue and the Commerce. They negotiate it, so they can negotiate terms of oversight. Could they not?
I believe so, yes.
I think so, too.
So going back to records, it says records by Team West Virginia are not public records for purposes of 29B. That just concerns me in here, and that's why I was asking, and I appreciate your discussion on that.
Are you aware of whether whether documents are available through economic development right now?
Are they? I'm not sure. Are they?
No.
Okay. So we don't have that type of oversight within the legislature of current economic development?
Not until a memorandum of understanding is signed.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. I think I've exhausted my
Thank you,
questions.
sir.
I appreciate the responses
Always.
and the information.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to speak to the bill.
Gentleman is recognized.
I have some significant concerns about this bill. I think that there's some issues with our potential oversight as a legislative body, as an executive, for the executive as well. I have seen that this has been modeled in part on Jobs Ohio. I've had a discussion with an individual, Michael Farron, who's a senior economist at the Hoover Institute. He was recently with the Congressional Joint Economic Council. One of his specialties is economic subsidies and public policy, the economic effects of public policy. He's actually been somewhat influential in the things that we're doing here in this body. He is probably the leading individual relative to occupational license recognition, which is something we have been passing and routinely passing in this body, and that's in large measure due to his work. He's also an individual involved in interstate professional compacts, which we've also been working on within this body. He's also one of the leaders in regulatory barriers to entrepreneurship, which we've also been addressing. So he's had significant indirect influences on this body. The reason I'm bringing that up is because he is probably the leading individual relative to economic subsidies and their effect on taxation, on revenue, on governance in the country. So I had a discussion with him yesterday. He has looked at the bill. He has concerns about this bill because of the potential for us to engage in the type of economic subsidization of corporations that we've done in the past, and he has had some significant findings relative to that regarding entities such as Nucor, which he believed was going to be coming to West Virginia in any case, despite any kind of efforts on our part. It was still coming here. He's also looked at Jobs Ohio. He had a discussion with them 10 years ago. Jobs Ohio is somewhat the model, apparently, for this bill. His discussion with Jobs Ohio indicated that there was there were potential problems with the way that was being implemented. I think we need to be cautious on this. I think we need to potentially look at some changes to this. I think we need more oversight into what is going on with economic development and our current economic development entity, as well as with this. So I recommend a no vote on this bill at this point. Thank you.
From the 45th, Douglas Brooks is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, this is a bill of real consequence, in my opinion. This could go really well. It could potentially go bad, or it could be neutral even. But it's going to do something. I've wrestled with this bill probably more than any bill that we voted on in this session. At different points, I've been 100% convinced that I'm going to vote against this bill. And then subsequently, I'll be 100% that I'm going to vote for this bill. I have similar concerns as my colleague from the 100th has already mentioned. I appreciate those concerns. I've researched those concerns, and I have some of those concerns. However, in my discussions with many people, we always talk about running this government, at least we think it's a good idea to run government like a business. I believe in that. I appreciate entrepreneurs because they often think differently than I do. They are what I call outside-the-box thinkers, and I admittedly am not. I also know that since getting into this political realm and getting to know some entrepreneurs, that they run in circles that I don't run in. They know people I don't know, and they have the access to resources that I don't have. These folks are often the movers and shakers in our communities and in our state, and even around the country and around the world. They have the resources to make things happen. We know this to be true. And that's what we want. We want private investment coming into our state. So the core debate, at least internally, that I was able to narrow this down to, this discussion, was on this issue. Whether economic development is more effective when we run like a business or we run it like a government agency. The business model, which is being proposed in this legislation, will provide speed and flexibility, customized incentive structures, and possibly some creative financing, things that I don't know anything about. Government model often is slow and rigid. Things, when you deal with the government, things have to fit into a certain box, and that limits some possibilities. Our folks in commerce and economic development are doing a great job. We have seen the announcements that have came about here recently, and we celebrate those and are happy about that. They're doing a good job. And we understand that more is on the way. However, I, for one, do not want to be happy and content with what I am seeing if I know that there's more to be had out there. If there is a way to put the proverbial foot on the gas, I want to do that. Do we need speed and flexibility to compete regionally with those that we touch, the backyard brawl? I've come to the conclusion that the answer to that is yes. We need that. It's been said that this is how the game is played, and we either get in or get out. And I, for one, want to get in. Don't take that decision lightly. Like I said, I've wrestled with this thing for the last 48 hours probably, doing my own due diligence and research. Will this work? I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure. I can look to other states that have done this, and I can see the successes that they've had. Ohio, which is what this bill is modeled on mostly, has been tremendously successful with this. There's arguments against it, but you have to consider the source. And a lot of times those are liberal media outlets and liberal reporters that don't like anything that Republicans do. But I look at Ohio and I look at the billions and billions and billions, and I know we're getting billions, but the amount that they have attracted to the state of Ohio is pretty impressive. I know it's not apples to apples necessarily comparing us to them, but I think there's something in there somewhere that we can benefit from. I do know that every successful company invests in itself, all of them. If you look at a Fortune 500 company, they're going to invest in itself to increase market share, to gain some kind of advantage. And if we're going to run this state like a business, and I think sometimes that's a good idea to do, we need to do the same. So, I'm willing to take a chance on ourselves. I've always said, to be something I've never been, I may need to do things that I've never done. I think that commitment comes to play here. I'm going to vote for this bill today. I'm going to take a chance on putting some people in positions that can do some great things for us and for our people. Because that's what I really care about, is taking care of our people. I know it sounds cliche, but I mean it. I want West Virginia to be what I know that she can be. And I think that this bill might help us along that path. I could be as wrong as a man can be about this, but I'm going to vote yes and take this chance and give some people some opportunities to work on our behalf, to go out and to talk to people that only they know, to bring people to our state, to open businesses here, open new offices here, give some employment opportunities for our people. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm going to vote for this bill today, and I would ask my colleagues to do the same. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman, the 25th, Douglas Hornbuckle is recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentleman from the 72nd yield?
Yes, my friend, if you'll yield to me.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And so just a very simple question. Want to know, will this bill have an impact on existing nonprofit organizations like Team for West Virginia Children?
So great question, and a legitimate question. And so we've had some conversations. So let me give a little bit of background of why Team West Virginia was put in. We've been working on this bill for a couple of years, trying to develop it to make sure that it was stable and make sure that we left the subsidies and all those things with the decision of the executive. And when we were doing that, we came up with a placeholder for TEAM, which is an acronym for technology, energy, aviation, and manufacturing. And that team, the name is actually in the bill, but it could be very flexible. We've already talked to the Senate and brought that up, and so I'm not locked on TEAM. It was something of where we've put it in as a placeholder because it really hits on the 4 pillars and foundations of what we kind of felt was West Virginia. So we would want to make sure it did not have any impact on them, sir.
Right. I love the bill. Just want to make sure it doesn't impact existing nonprofit organizations.
Completely agree.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Gentleman, the 29th, Doug Dillon's recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will my comrade from the 45th yield for a question or two?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. What do you understand the chief purpose of government to be?
Well, that's a pretty big question. Safety and security of its people, I believe.
Protect our rights? Does that sound right?
No, sir.
You don't think the chief purpose of government is to protect our rights?
I thought you said to take their rights.
Okay.
No, to protect their rights, yes.
Okay, that's good. What is the purpose of business?
To generate revenue, try to make a profit.
To grow? Grow year over year? Is that correct?
Business?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. That's what you hope for.
Okay.
I'm not a businessman, but that's what they tell me.
And do you still stand by your statement that you want government to be run like a business?
I think there's principles in business that apply very well to public policy. I think that's why we're seeing some of the successes at the national level that we're seeing today because we have a businessman in the White House.
Do you want to see government grow year over year?
No, not necessarily for the government to grow year over year.
But you still want it to be run more like a business. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. This agency that we're setting up is it's going to be operating in a business format more so than a government format.
Okay. Last question. We had an opportunity just a few days ago to do something very specific to help the southern portion of the state economically. There was an amendment to build a coke plant. Do you remember how you voted on that?
Yes, sir, I sure do. It wasn't on the merits of the case.
I don't comprehend. Can you help me with that? Did you vote for that, or did
The
you vote against it?
the bill before us is House Bill 4001. Delegate, confine your questions to that.
I thought it was about economic development.
It is about House
Mr.
Bill
Speaker.
4001. Confine your questions to that and proceed.
I believe the delegate voted against.
I believe it is about House Bill 4001. Proceed. Or don't. It's up to you.
I don't have any more questions at this time. Thank you.
Gentleman the 12th, Doug Chris.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As a family business that my family has been in, either construction or construction material business for over 100 years. Currently, we're in a family business that deals with construction materials that we've been unloading material on the Ohio and the Kanawha rivers for over 80 years. Our business is built on future. And let me tell you, along the Ohio River, we see it every day. And what I see just in looking at the state of Ohio on the way that they do their economic development now is putting us further behind. And this bill will help give us an opportunity to play catch up. We're not going to get ahead, but we just simply need to get caught up. We have an opportunity, since the current administration in Washington has decided to do a manufacturing renaissance to the United States, that the two biggest states that have been aggressive in trying to bring manufacturing back to their states, believe it or not, are Arkansas and Mississippi. And you can't tell me that West Virginia can't compete with Arkansas and Mississippi if we have the right tools. And we have an administration that will provide the inspiration to use those right tools. Currently, this administration doesn't want to do that. We have got to provide the tools so that we can say to businesses, yes, we want you here. We have a workforce. We have the people. We have the property. We have the opportunity to provide whatever you need, we can do. We have a flexible legislature that will provide you anything you need as far as the laws are concerned in our state to do this job. But we've got to do this. This is one of the things in the toolbox that we can do that'll help us move along. I'm tired of watching our material and our services go on the other side of the river from me when we ought to be doing them in West Virginia. You know, back in January of 22, there were two gentlemen that came from Charlotte. It was a Sunday evening, and they stood up here on the floor, and they talked about a project in Mason County and said, boys, we want to build a new steel plant, and we need your help. And we shook their hand and helped provide them $300 to $400 million of financing. That's how it was done. You know, and the same type of thing for Form Energy, that we loaned ourselves money to build a facility for those people, and now they're going great guns. In the Eastern Panhandle, you did Procter & Gamble, you've done a steel plant, you've done Clorox. We're seeing all this. And the people in Parkersburg and in the surrounding areas are saying, when is it our turn? And they see what's going on in Belpre and Marietta across the river in Washington County and Meigs County. And they're asking the question, when is it our turn? Pass this bill so we can say our turn is now. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
From the third, I got Willis is recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, good morning. I'm not going to speak to the philosophical side of things today, what government should do, shouldn't do, what issues there might have been with other versions of this in different states. I'm going to speak to the facts. It's not 1950 anymore. I wish government could just be out of the way of economic development, but that's not how the game is played anymore. I'm from the Panhandle. I'm 10 minutes from the river, 10 minutes from Ohio. What I can tell you, what I've seen, is opportunities lost by West Virginia because a more aggressive non-government entity in that state was able to pull them out of the state of West Virginia. It wasn't an opportunity for more jobs. It was an opportunity to keep the jobs we already had here. I know when I got elected, it's hard to believe, almost 4 years ago now, I promised to move this state forward, to be innovative, to think of new ways to make sure the next generation, my generation, didn't have to leave West Virginia to have a chance in life. That is the kind of opportunity this bill will give us. Does it fit perfectly into a philosophical mold? Probably not. I don't know. Is this the most efficient way we can do this? I don't know. But what I do know is this is going to give an entire generation of West Virginians, my generation, the generation right behind me, a better chance at getting a job in West Virginia. And I know at least almost everybody in this chamber campaigned at some point on bringing jobs back. You want to get government out of the way? Do this. Let's not be the ones to do it. Let's let a private corporation do it. Let's make it more efficient. Let's win for West Virginia. And let's have a team West Virginia whose entire job is to bring jobs back here. We deal with a lot of things. We have a big agenda today that has a lot of different subjects that we're going to talk about. Let's put experts in a room who can focus on this and win for West Virginia. I urge passage. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
From the 26th, Deckard Rohrbach is recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To my colleagues, I rise to support this bill. We can't ignore what's going on in 49 other states. They are moving in the direction of recruiting business and recruiting it fairly substantially. To the gentleman from the 12th who just talked about what's going on across the river, I'm going to talk about what's going on across the river from the county that I live in. They started an industrial park. Jobs are High got very invested in it. To date, they've added hundreds of jobs there, 3 businesses of which moved across the river from the state of West Virginia. Frankly, said they got a better deal. Now, I wish we didn't have to do deals to get business. I wish we had some incredible advantage that people want to be here. And in large part, when we had the coal industry, the coal was here. The gas, it's here. Other industries, folks, we've got to go out and work to get. The gentleman from the 45th brought up the fact that business does move differently. They don't want to air their secrets in a legislative chamber every time something's done. We need people that understand business to go out and work to get businesses. Guess what? It's what a lot of other states done. The results have been pretty successful in those states, and I would urge the membership to think strongly about moving in a new direction in the state of West Virginia, because I'll tell you what, the constituents that set you here have a right to expect that we are down here working on improving the economy of the state of West Virginia. That's the right that I think your citizens have, and I think this bill is a movement and a step in the right direction, and I urge passage. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
From the 57th, Doug Lewis is recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This appears to be a step in the right direction, although I would have some questions about specifics. But I think what we have to address is not only bringing jobs, not only improving our economic situation, but we have to also address improving our quality of life situation. Our last interims, we had a professor from WVU come in here, and he said that, as the gentleman alluded to, younger people are not only chasing jobs, they're chasing quality of life. When we talk about jobs in West Virginia, there's 4,000 open positions within our hospital systems, 4,000, and that's just in one sector. So it's not necessarily just, bringing jobs in. We have to focus on quality of life. We had a doctor in a rural county, excellent physician. She left because, of the dating scene, according to her. So we have to focus on things like clean water, things like internet, things like the arts. It may not be that important to you on the surface, but those things are important. So we have to not only focus on having economic development, we have to focus on quality of life issues. And I hope that within this initiative, those are some of the things that can be drawn out. So like I said, this seems like a good idea, but I think there's some loopholes. And again, West Virginia, let's focus on quality of life in addition to economic development. Thank you.
From the 32nd, Doug Holstein is recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't have much to add to the debate and some of the things that's been spoken here today, but I do want to talk about southern West Virginia and the coal fields and where I'm from in Boone County. I've spent my entire life watching our one industry that our county and our region is dependent on dwindle away. And with that, we've had our infrastructures went down, our schools have went down. We're not able to keep up with anything in southern West Virginia. We desperately need something like this to absolutely help us. I mean, we have a site that's ready, the Hobet property in Boone County, it's ready to go, and we need somebody to help market that. This is stuff that we desperately need in southern West Virginia, and it's across all of West Virginia, but I think sometimes when we're here, we get into the weeds about, well, is this philosophically right? And that's good. We should do that. It's what we're here for. We're good to have that debate. But it's also important for us to realize, we have areas in our state that are dying, and some places, frankly, that are already dead. Schools are shutting down because we've lost population. We've got to have jobs, and we need to have more industry in the state as well. And I'm so grateful to see this. I'm thankful to have this bill before us today, and I urge passage. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair, on the 72nd to close debate on the bill.
Yes, sir, Mr. Speaker. As my friend from the 100 said, this is not a simple bill, nor is economic development. For decades, our state has relied primarily on a traditional state agency of economic development model, housed within government and constrained by limitations and political cycles, a one-size-fits-all approach. It is time. It is time for a strategic rethinking of how West Virginia pursues economic development. Within our current model, we have had successes, and we've had very recent successes. But the hard truth is, we still lag behind many of our neighbors and many of our peer states. Across the country, successful economic development is increasingly happening through non-state agencies. 21 organizations in the state. Not one, not 10, 21. We heard testimony in the committee, and I quote, "Similar programs in other states have been helpful in streamlining decision-making for major economic development." And that's what we're looking to do, streamline. These organizations aren't constrained by electoral cycles or limitations on the way our current agency has to operate, and they do a great job. I know them, wonderful people. But we can't force them to function with one hand tied behind their back. We have to allow them to innovate, be creative, develop and build long-term partnerships. It is time to depoliticize economic development and accelerate business recruitment. You know, you may have heard the term corporate cronyism, but this bill does not change or expand what people call to corporate cronyism. Incentives are strictly the decision of the executive and the Department of Commerce. It is prohibited for Team West Virginia to bind the state. This proposal and this bill is about improving execution, being more competitive. And I like when West Virginia fights. I sit with 99, God rest his soul, 98 current members who I would sit and fight with every day. We here focus on the fundamentals. And economic growth absolutely has to focus on the fundamentals. I 1,000% agree with that. And we should continue to work and focus on those. But fundamentals are not alone in other states winning competitions for diverse, large-scale capital projects. And we need more diversification in West Virginia. We just heard my friend from Broome discuss how having a singular economy can provide great times, but it can provide hard times. The most successful states have streamlined regulations, they have reduced taxes, and they've modernized the way they do economic development. And West Virginia should do all three. You know, I want to be clear about something. This is not about abolishing a state agency or undercutting government's role. It is about restructuring so that we can move, as my friend from the 45th, at the speed of business. We need to unlock sustainable economic development. West Virginia deserves this modern framework to drive market-driven decisions, to reward performance, not just box checking, and position our state in the way we all feel it should be positioned. You know, in closing, colleagues, if we really want to compete in the future with Pennsylvania, Ohio, Kentucky, Virginia, we must be innovators. The status quo has produced results, but we need more diversified results. We need more diversification. We need to be more efficient. We need partnership. We need flexibility, and we need performance. It is time. Let us embrace our future, not today or not tomorrow, but today. I urge passage, Mr. Speaker.
Debate on the bill has been closed. The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage of the bill will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, we had 87 ayes, 8 nays, 4 members absent, a majority of members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4001.
Are there title amendments? If not, title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4010, providing a statutory program for loaning financial assistance to local airports for airplane hangar construction in this state.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having the bill explained, to having the bill read? If not, Gentleman the 72nd, Doggett Riley, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill creates a program to be administered by the Economic Development Authority for the Airport Hangar Fund. The authority is to transfer $75 million from the Department of Economic Development Project Fund to a new fund for counties, municipalities, regional airports, and authorities to spur economic development in the aviation, repair, maintenance, assembly, and overhaul industry, providing for wide-body hangars at airports in the state. I urge passage.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? Lady from the 56th, Doggett Young, is recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the Vice Chairman yield for some questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So I think this is a committee substitute.
Yes.
Was the original bill a loan or a grant?
So the structure will be given to the local airports, of which they will be able to build a hangar to which to loan and lease, I guess I should say, to lease to a company to build for market rate. Sorry. It is a grant to the local development authority, to the regional airport, of which they would build a hangar of which to lease to a company. Sorry.
So we're doing a grant, not a loan. We're just giving people money.
Correct. They will be paying, they can pay that back as part of the conditions of the fund.
They are going to pay it back?
That is
or
the
they are not?
anticipation.
Why would they pay back a grant?
The grant is to a public fund, public entity, such as counties, the regional airport here in Charleston, to where they could build a hangar and lease back to companies.
Are we getting the $75 million back?
No.
So we are giving out grants to counties, municipalities, and regional airports, and then they're going to do loans?
They are eligible to do that, yes.
Okay, but we are not eligible to get that money back. We're just giving it to them.
Correct.
Okay, how much does an airport hangar cost?
So it depends on the size, but a wide-body hangars cost normally between 25 and 35 million.
So we're gonna get like 3?
2 to 3.
2 to 3, okay. It's a high
That's why it's a
ROI.
competitive grant.
Okay, so how many local airports do we have?
So you have a lot, but when you look at the wide body type, you really have a limited number of that can compete for those. So you tend to look at preference of the runway length, you tend to look at preference of the pavement classification rating so that they can land those type of airports. So you typically want something over 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 feet in order to be able to do this.
Do you know how many airports we have with runways over 7,000
5.
feet? 5?
Yes,
so
ma'am.
the 5 will be eligible for this $25 million?
Actually, all are eligible. There is
Okay.
preference in the rating to runways over 7,000 feet.
Okay, and is this an industry where they're like down bad for money, or we're just trying to lure
So
them
part
here?
of the challenge, and great question, part of the challenge becomes with FAA regulations of who can own assets on a secure area within the fence, and the secure perimeter. So that's why it was structured in this manner, so that you could facilitate, because the airport authority does have they have the ability to own those hangars within inside the secure perimeter.
Can they not do that now?
So can they not what? Own facilities?
Yeah, what does that have to do with it?
So that's why that was given to them so a lot of times a private company could come in and ask the EDA. So this fund actually comes out of, the money comes out of the project fund that we allocated money to. But when a company comes in to an EDA, those high impact jobs are essentially the funds are given to the company. In a situation where you would not own the assets, that's why it's given to the airport authority versus a company. So we're trying to facilitate the economic development on that property with runway access, taxiway access, because it's inside the secure perimeter, and federal regulations are challenging at times.
Okay,
on
thank
that.
you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Folks, I'm going to support this bill. I think it's good. I want to help this industry grow in the state. I know we've been doing a lot to do that since I've been here. But I can't help but notice that we have never set up a grant fund for small businesses in this state, and we certainly haven't given them $75 million. So I'm happy to support this. I just wish we would also make grants available for our local small businesses, not these just billion-dollar industries. Thanks.
From the 22nd, Docket Linville is recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the Vice Chair of Finance yield?
Sir.
So I just want to maybe clear up any of the questions there. So a private company can't own that property. They can't own one of these hangars inside the fence. Is that
Typical structure is that an airport authority, so like in my airport, in my county, there's a company who does maintenance, repair, and overhaul. They do not own that facility. It is owned by the airport facility. Then they lease it to the company. So that's a typical structure, sir.
And I think
yes.
maybe a couple of years ago in a specific bill, we actually helped build that.
You are correct, sir.
Okay, great. So this would just set up sort of a more generalized fashion under which the EDA would be able to put forward these mechanisms to have these built. Because if a airport even gets a 30-year lease, those are monthly payments, right? And so they don't have the capital at the outset to build these.
Yes, sir. That's
right?
that's correct.
Okay. So the private company's not allowed to own it. They could lease space, but they're not allowed to own it in the first place. And we're trying to put forward some dollars to be able to further develop our airports, air travel, and economy more generally. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
The one that you've got in your district, can you remind me how many jobs are there?
It's not in my district, but it is adjacent to. But yes, I'll be honest. It's about 2,600 according to the district of who it's in, the gentlelady from the 71st. It does have about $1 billion impact of direct and about $2 billion indirect.
2,600 jobs.
Yes, sir.
And we supported that a couple years ago. I think it was around $20 or $30 million.
There's been a number of sort of allocations, and some were federal EDA, some were state allocations, but yes, there's at least that much.
Okay. And then, of course, our airports are getting sort of revolving dollars from that because they're getting lease payments at market rate on the structures that are built. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, I appreciate that. I'm very much in support of this bill. This is investment in our infrastructure. The airports are ours. They don't belong to anybody else. They belong to the state of West Virginia and its political subdivisions. As you just heard, 2,600 jobs in Harrison County sounds pretty strong, and I look forward to the opportunity to see that happen in other counties throughout our state because these are good paying jobs. They pay typically over $80,000 a year, and it goes right in with many of the things that we're trying to do. And of course, there's a lot of small businesses that can be giving supplies and services to these companies. So I think it's an investment in our economy overall and in the infrastructure of the state. And so as your Chairman of Environment, Infrastructure, and Technology, I urge passage. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
From the 87th, Docket Howell is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentleman continue to yield?
Yes, sir.
One of the things and one of the reasons we need to do this funding, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like if you're going to extend a runway, add tarmac, taxiways, there's a federal match to that, and I believe it's about 90%.
Normal match is 90-10, correct.
Right. But when it comes to hangars, there is no match. It's purely local.
Correct, because those are typically leased back, and there's a lease back at market rate.
And I know research I've done and you've done and several others, there is an international shortage on hangar space right now around the world.
There is a significant demand from around the world, correct.
Yeah, and I'm told it's somewhere 2 to 3 year wait if you have a large aircraft to even get it into a hangar.
Yes.
Okay. And if you look at our neighboring areas, because West Virginia, we're uniquely located in the middle of the East Coast, and especially with these facilities like Teterboro in New York is the busiest jet private jet airport in the country. You've got Dulles, which is number 3. We can rent hangar space much cheaper and bring those jobs to West Virginia, correct?
Yeah, so when you're looking at maintenance and repair and overhaul, the further they have to fly away, obviously the more that costs for fuel. So you get a lot of economic benefit from a hangar in a lot of parts of the state, whether it's Huntington or Parkersburg or Harrison County or the Eastern Panhandle or Lewisburg, which have long runways. And not only would you have those jobs that were there, but you also would have those fuel cells of sales, S-A-L-E-S, of when those people come, which ultimately goes back into the local economy and in taxes, et cetera. So yes, a lot of jobs.
So this truly is one of those things, if we build it, they will come because there's such a shortage.
Well, one of the things, if you look in the preferences or other extenuating circumstances, I don't remember exactly how, other factors of importance. So somebody may come in for that competitive grant program and say, I have a company that's willing to create 600 jobs and take a 40-year lease on this if we build a hangar right here. So that would be something, if they're currently recruiting and our companies are currently recruiting, that they could use that as a factor to justify the need for this award.
So we may call it a grant program, but it's actually a jobs bill.
Yes, it is, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I support the bill.
Is there other debate on the bill? Gentleman from the 12th to close debate on the bill. Gentleman 72nd to close debate on the bill.
Just briefly, Mr. Speaker, and I appreciate the questions in trying to understand it. To the gentlelady from the 56, I agree. Last year we did a bill right out of this same fund that allows small businesses $25 million annually. So I completely support that. And we should continue to do that and continue to work on the businesses that are here. I think you saw that in our Recharge West Virginia and training. And so when we look at that, I agree. This is also an opportunity to continue to grow the pie. And so, Mr. Speaker, with that, I urge passage.
Debate on the bill has been closed. The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, we have 92 ayes, 3 nays, and 4 members absent. A majority of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4010.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now 11 o'clock, the customary hour for introductions. At this time, are there introductions today? Are there introductions today? Gentleman from the 32nd, Delegate Holstein.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Joining us in the South Gallery today, we have several kids with Game Changers. It's a peer leadership prevention student group. We have groups from Sherman High, Sherman Junior High School, and Van Junior and Senior High School. If they would stand, and the House, please make them feel welcome.
Gentleman 13th, Douglas Heckert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, somewhere in one of the galleries, we have a teacher from Blennerhassett Middle School that has brought down a group of kids from the Student Council Government, Anisha Koski, and the students, if they'd please stand as I read their name: Ashley Knapp, Gwen Savay, Sadie Geary, Aiden Philpott, Joshua Eddy, Carter Agree, Madeline Lewis, Catherine Moyers, and Kate McLean. Please make them feel welcome.
Gentleman the 44th, Douglas Root.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I have 4 pages from Independence High School, and if they would stand: Charlotte Robertson, Madison Arbogast, Brenna Davidson, and Journey Pollard, and they're here with Charlotte's mom and dad, Sarah and Brett Robertson, who is setting in the South Gallery. Please make them feel welcome.
Lady in the 56th, Douglas Young.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of myself and the gentleman from the 25th, I've got 4 pages from Huntington High School. If they'll stand, if they're not busy. We've got Karma Tate, Taylor Robinson, Javion Kennedy, and Brinkley Winsett. Thanks for joining us today, folks.
Gentleman from the 28th, Douglas Browning.
Thank you, Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a page with us today, Jace Hager from Buffalo Middle School, if he could please stand. And he is being accompanied by his parents, Tess and Josh. If the House could please make him feel welcome.
Lady from the 15th, Douglas Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of my colleague from Putnam County, Delegate Drennan, I have a page here. She could stand. Mariah Novensky from Elkview Middle School, and her father, Kent, is with us also. If you could please make them feel welcome. And then from my county, I have 2 pages, a Naomi Raines and a Cora Raines, if they could stand, and they are accompanied by their mother, Tiffany, in one of the galleries, I am sure. So if you could please make them feel welcome.
Are there further introductions? If not, for the bills on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4025, exempting certain employees from the classified civil service system.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? If not, gentleman from the 68th, Douglas Phillips, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The purpose of the committee substitute for House Bill 4025 is to provide that effective July 1, 2026, each new hire within the Department of Health, the Department of Human Services, and the Department of Health Facilities will be exempt from the classified service system administered by the Division of Personnel. New hires will also be exempted from being covered by the state grievance procedures. However, the bill does provide that any employee who is currently covered by the classified service system and who currently has access to the state grievance procedures will continue to have said coverage and access so long as the employee remains in his or her current position. The bill further provides that nothing in the bill shall exempt the affected departments with the provisions of code prohibiting nepotism, favoritism, discrimination, or unethical practices. I urge passage.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? Gentleman from the 14th, Douglas Foggins, recognized. Gentleman from the 14th is recognized.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would imagine that only one of us had a constituent ask for this. I'm not sure. I wasn't sent down here to take away employee rights. Employee grievance procedures are around because employers have treated employees poorly in the past. So that's my take on it. Thank you.
Gentleman from the 54th, Douglas Pushkin, is recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Come to think of it, I might have had one constituent ask for it, and he happens to live next door to the Capitol complex. I did have another constituent call me this morning who was very upset. Gentleman I know very well, probably one of the most conservative people I know. We don't share a lot of political views. He does live in my district, and I have a lot of respect for the guy. He was very upset about this. I'm not sure why we're doing it. We all know there's the constant threat of political hirings and firings. These people are just trying to make a living. We've already, raised their insurance premiums like 3 times in the past couple years, and now we want to strip away civil service protections. It makes no sense.
Gentleman from the 25th, Douglas Hornbuckle, is recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the chairman yield, please?
Certainly.
Yes, sir. Within this bill, are there any protections for highway workers if they were ever to get fired for political affiliations or patronage?
For highway workers? Is that what you said?
State workers. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the health services bill. They would be afforded the same protections as anyone else against improper firing.
Excuse me, say that again?
Excuse me?
Say that again, I didn't hear you.
I said they would have the same protections as anyone else.
So political firings are covered?
I'm sorry, could you repeat
So
that?
political firings are covered?
They would still have their First Amendment right and would be able, if this bill passes, they would no longer have the process that's in place now, but they would be afforded the same rights as every other worker in the state.
So they wouldn't have the process?
No, just new hires, yes.
Thank you.
Is there further debate on the bill? Gentleman from the 68th, close debate on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill is, of course, similar to House Bill 2008, 2009, and 2013 that we passed out of this body last year. And I know friends of mine that I respect greatly have got differing opinions on this, but it's an attempt to modernize West Virginia employee practices, and I think it's aimed at improving the quality of state workers and the efficiency of state government, and giving the taxpayers of this state a better deal for their tax dollar. And I urge passage. Thank you.
Debate on the bill has been closed. The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, there are 51 ayes, 38 nays, 10 members absent. Majority of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4025.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Gentleman, the first.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to make the bill effective July 1st.
The question is on the gentleman's motion that the bill be made effective July 1st, 2026. Those in favor of adoption of the gentleman's motion will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, there are 65 ayes, 25 nays, 9 members absent, less than 2/3 in the majority. Chair declares the motion lost. Clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4176 to allow youth and handicapped hunters to harvest a buck, deer, or doe during youth handicapped special hunts.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? If not, Gentleman the 95th, Douglas Hurst, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The committee substitute for House Bill 4176 amends 20-2-42 of the State Code. The bill eliminates the current subsection B to repeal the allowance for Class Senior Citizen Lifetime Hunting Licensees to have the same privileges and restrictions as youth hunters during special youth deer season. DNR requested this change in lieu of the original bill to allow Natural Resources Commission to promulgate a rule to accomplish the youth and disabled hunter antlered deer policy during special youth deer season. That is the bill. I urge passage.
You've heard the bill explained. The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. There were 91 ayes, 0 nays, 8 members absent. A majority of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4176.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4191 relating to providing child care generally.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? If not, Gentleman the 11th, Douglas Fehrenbacher, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 4191 addresses multiple points in the current child care system requiring clarity and provides direction regarding cost, service, and other factors impacting families, providers, and employers utilizing child care. The bill includes a definition of the term employer-sponsored child care facility. This term was created with the passage of Senate Bill 656 in the 2022 regular session, but was not defined in code. Several items are clarified. A licensed child care program shall be paid subsidy payments based on monthly enrollment. Monthly child care is clarified as a child attending a child care program on an average of at least 8 days per month. A day of child care means a child has attended a child care program for 4 hours in the day, or an out-of-school time program for 2.5 hours. The bill requires the Department of Human Services to develop a cost of care modeling tool and report to the Joint Committee on Health by December 1st of this year. The Department of Human Services is to provide a system for the electronic filing of all days of attendance reports and include them in emergency rules. And lastly, the department shall implement policies to mitigate the cliff effect of subsidy payments and implement them by January 1st, 2027. That is a summary of the bill, Mr. Speaker. I urge passage.
Heard the bill explained. The question now before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? Gentleman, the 80th, Edward Williams, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Folks, child care is a public utility. It is an essential service that our constituents need to be able to live the life that we want them to be able to live and that they ought to be able to live. There are a lot of issues down here that we talk about: health care, water quality, affordability, economic diversification. And until a few years ago, child care wasn't one of them. And as we're about to vote on this bill today, I want to compliment my colleague next to me from the 56th, who, without her efforts in screaming about this issue and yelling about this issue the past few years, I don't know if we would be voting on this issue today. So I would urge passage. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is there further debate on the bill? Gentlemen wish to close debate on the bill. If not, the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. There were 89 ayes, 4 nays, and 6 members absent. A majority of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4191.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. Gentleman, the first.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Move to make the bill effective July 1st, 2026.
The question is on the motion that the bill take effect July 1st, 2026. Those in favor of the motion will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. We had 91 ayes, 2 nays, and 6 members absent. 2/3 of the members having voted in the affirmative. The chair declares the bill effective July 1st, 2026. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4418, creating the Tax Efficiency Act of 2026.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having this bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? If not, gentleman, the 72nd to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill requires the tax commissioner to design and implement an electronic data processing system to facilitate the filing and collection of municipal, business, and occupation or privilege taxes. To cover the cost of this system development, maintenance, and ongoing administration, the tax commissioner will retain an administrative fee of 1%. This is the small businesses who work across the state that every quarter they have to file a paper report of how much business they did within the state, within that community. This will allow businesses to go to one singular place, file all of their B&O tax for every municipality they work in. So this is really a tax efficiency act, and I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. We had 93 ayes, 1 nay, and 5 members absent. A majority of the members having voted in the affirmative. The chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4418.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4538, regarding fines in DOH work zones.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? If not, gentleman, the 55th to explain the bill.
House Bill 4538 increases penalties for traffic violations in construction zones. The bill also was amended to include traffic violation penalty increases for electronically distracted driving within construction zones. That's a description of the bill, Mr. Speaker. I urge passage.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, we had 94 ayes, 0 nays, and 5 members absent. A majority of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4538.
Are there title amendments?
Delegate Akers moves to amend the title.
The question now is on adoption of the title amendment. Those in favor of adoption of the title amendment will please say aye. Those opposed will please say no. The ayes have it. Chair declares the title amendment adopted. The title as amended by the House will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4588 relating to participating in the federal tax credit scholarship program.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? If not, Gentleman the 12th, Doug Chris, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill would amend provisions of the West Virginia Code by adding a new article. This new article requires the treasurer to participate in the federal tax credit program, allowing tax credits to individuals for their donations to scholarship grant organizations. A scholarship grant organization is defined in federal law as a nonprofit that provides scholarships to help students pay for elementary or secondary education expenses. The treasurer would be required to submit to the Secretary of the U.S. Treasury on or before January 1 of each year a list of all qualified scholarship granting organizations located in the state. The same list is to be provided on the treasurer's website. The treasurer would be required to accept applications from entities that would want to be placed on the list. Mr. Speaker, I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on this question. We had 93 ayes, 0 nays, and 6 members absent. A majority of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4588.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
House Bill 4772 to ensure the integrity of West Virginia's Medicaid program by requiring regular verification of enrollee status and prompt removal of deceased individuals from active Medicaid rolls.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having this bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? If not, Gentleman the 78th, Doug Shirelli, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill requires the Bureau for Medical Services to regularly verify Medicaid enrollment records and remove individuals who are deceased. The bill mandates monthly data matches with state and federal death records and requires Medicaid eligibility to be terminated effective on the date of death. The bill authorizes data sharing agreements with relevant agencies and requires the Office of Inspector General to conduct annual audits of the verification process. It also requires an annual report to LACRA detailing the number of deceased enrollees removed and the estimated cost savings. This bill takes effect July 1st, 2026. I urge passage.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, we had 93 ayes, 0 nays, and 6 members absent. A majority of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
House Bill 4772.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4965 relating to patient-centered treatment flexibility within the Public Employees Insurance Agency.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? If not, Gentleman the 23rd, I get Worrell to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The purpose of House Bill 4965 is to allow for flexibility of treatment with PEIA. This bill would allow for alternative treatments for the same condition without requiring a new or additional prior authorization. These alternative treatments would need to meet the following restrictions: that it's medically appropriate for the same diagnosed condition, and that the total allowed cost to the agency for the alternative treatment does not exceed the allowed cost of the originally authorized treatment. I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? Lady from the 71st, Doug Kimball, is recognized on the bill.
Good morning, everyone. Well, almost afternoon. I actually laid something on, or asked to have laid on your desk, something that is applicable to this bill. This is about Eric Tennant and Becky Tennant, constituents of mine. Mrs. Tennant was here last week, and she was able to testify in the Health Committee, and many of you were able to hear her comments. I've taken her comments and adjusted them so I could tell you her story, but first I'd like to tell you that exactly 1 year and 1 week ago today, like so many of you, I was checking my emails at the end of floor session, and I came across Mrs. Tennant's email. That's how we've come to today. So here are some of the comments, or I'd just like to tell you about Eric and Rebecca. Eric was diagnosed in February 2023 with stage 4 metastatic intrahepatic cholangiocarcinoma with bone metastasis, a cancer with very limited life expectancy. You can only imagine how devastating that diagnosis was for not only Eric, but his entire family. From the beginning, they understood that time mattered. Every month mattered, every week mattered, every day mattered, and every medical decision mattered. By the beginning of 2025, Eric had exceeded expectations for his illness and was doing well clinically. He was stable, continuing maintenance chemotherapy, and in a good place medically, making any delay in his care even more significant. In January 2025, his medical team recommended a procedure called histotripsy, a non-invasive, FDA-approved procedure that, while relatively new, offered hope, time, and quality of life. It was not experimental, and his doctors believed it was medically appropriate. Eric Tennant was a father, a husband, son, brother, friend, and co-worker. He was a proud employee of the West Virginia Office of Miners Health Safety and Training, as well as a dedicated member of the West Virginia State Mine Rescue Team. Eric believed deeply in doing his job and doing it well. Even while fighting advanced cancer, he continued to work right up until the week before he passed. He loved his family, especially those kids of his, Aaron, Amaya, and Jamie. He loved his dog, Molly, the Pittsburgh Pirates, Mountaineers, and his wife says a lovely beach sunset. Everything he did was rooted in providing for his family and being present for them for as long as he was able. He was a state employee, and his family received health insurance through PEIA. In January 2025, when Eric's medical team recommended histotripsy, PEIA denied the procedure. What followed were 4 months of appeals and 4 separate denials. His team and his wife submitted medical records, expert opinions, letters, data, anything additional that was requested. They requested reviews and re-reviews. That's when she reached out to many of us here, and Delegate Jennings, President Smith, and I began working with her to try and get the denial overturned. And still, the answer was no. Eric's case garnered national media attention at the end of May 2025, and coincidentally, it was then that PEIA finally approved the procedure. Within a week of the reversal, Eric was hospitalized with multiple pulmonary embolisms, and he never became stable enough to undergo the procedure. After the first hospitalization, Eric's health began to rapidly decline. Understanding how precious time was, he chose to spend the summer making memories with his children, going on their yearly family beach trip, and then traveling to Nashville to see his son and his wife's new home. He continued to work at a job he loved, and he loved to mow his lawn, so he continued to do that too. He chose to simply be present and live. His cancer continued to progress, and the tumor that could have been targeted in the late winter or early spring continued to grow. By the end of August, Eric was hospitalized again, this time with liver failure. He died September 17th, surrounded by his family. I thank you for your attention, and I hope that you will support this very simple piece of legislation, which will help to provide a rational process for patients and their families who are in the midst of probably one of the most irrational and chaotic times of their lives. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is there further debate on the bill? Does the gentleman from the 23rd wish to close debate on the bill? The gentleman from the 23rd is recognized to close debate on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And to go along with the gentlelady from the 71st said, this is far too common. This happens way too much. Millions across the country, and definitely here in this state, for someone who could have lived longer, who could have received this treatment through 4 denials, through final approval after it was national news media. And it's unfortunate because PIA uses vendors and contracts with people like UMR, who's the third-party administrator it's owned by United Healthcare. You can research United Healthcare. This is their modus operandi. This is what they do. They just hope that if they deny long enough, you'll die, and they don't have to pay for it. That's what they do. And it's unfortunate that PEI uses this contract, this vendor, to do this. They do this across the board. They do the same thing with Express Scripts. Their PBM, who was just sued by our AG last year, also just fined by the OIC yesterday for violating West Virginia code consistently and repeatedly. They cost us millions of dollars. They just give back to the PBMs through rebates, but they denied this gentleman's care of $50,000 that his oncologist said was medically appropriate. His oncologist, his doctor, said it was medically appropriate, and he was denied repeatedly. And so this bill, as the gentlelady from the 71st, is not going to fix everyone's problem, but it does put some tight guidelines, some tight requirements on what can be done to hopefully provide an alternative treatment that is the same cost or less. So somebody who does have stage 4 cancer can live a little longer, can enjoy their family a little longer. And once again, I urge passage, Mr. Speaker.
Debate on the bill has been closed. The question before the House now is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on this question. We had 93 ayes, 0 nays, and 6 members absent. A majority of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4965.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4977 relating to authorizing municipalities to adopt an ordinance to recover demolition costs as special tax assessments.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? If not, gentleman from the 68, Douglas Phillips, to explain the bill. Delegate from the 4th, Douglas Flanagan, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The committee substitute for House Bill 4977 amends Code 81216 by adding a new subsection H, authorizing municipalities to adopt an ordinance to recover demolition costs as a special tax assessment. I urge passage.
Further the bill explained. The question now is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill, please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? Gentleman the first, your vote's not registered. Clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, we had 92 ayes, 0 nays, and 7 members. The majority of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4977.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4986, relating to providing additional ground for abandonment finding in an adoption proceeding.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? If not, Gentleman from the 55th, Doggett Acres, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 4986 adds to existing adoption code to allow incarceration to be a factor that a court may consider when determining whether or not to grant adoption when there's no consent from an incarcerated parent. The factors the court are to consider must be proven by clear and convincing evidence and are in line with existing Supreme Court precedent. That's a brief description of the bill, Mr. Speaker. I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. We had 91 ayes, 0 nays, and 8 members absent. A majority of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4986.
Are there title amendments?
Delegate Acres moves to amend the title.
The question is on adoption of the title amendment. Those in favor of adoption of the title amendment will please say aye. Those opposed will please say no. The ayes have. The chair declares the title amendment adopted. The title as amended by the House will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4995, require the use of video cameras in certain special education classrooms.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? If not, Gentleman from the 55th to explain the bill, Delegate Acres.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 4995 provides additional notification requirements to parents whose children are attending self-contained classrooms, which are monitored by video and audio recording in the state of West Virginia under West Virginia Code Section 18-20-11. Requires a review by the principal of the school, shifts that from every 90 days to 30 days for review of video and audio recordings. Does maintain that the recordings may not be used for standard teacher evaluations, but does say that the recordings, and clarifies they may be used for disciplinary purposes, and also states in a separate section of code, Mr. Speaker, that any lack of finding of abuse by DOHS or criminal charges filed by a law enforcement agency does not absolve the school or local education agency of its duty to investigate abuse allegations independently. This bill was brought to us, Mr. Speaker, based upon concerns of a student named Oscar from the gentleman from the 65th School District. That's a description of the bill, Mr. Speaker. I urge passage.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? Gentleman from the 5th, Doggett Fluharty, is recognized.
Thank you. Gentleman, you're...
Yes, sir.
Just real quick, how the original legislation that this derived from, what happened that prompted us to require the use of video cameras in special education classrooms?
I think there was more than one incident probably over the years, but it was, abuse allegations that occurred, at least allegedly, within some self-contained classrooms for which there was no independent proof beyond what the students may have told their parents or what maybe other staff had alerted to the parents or school administrators.
So abuse allegations were made, and then we as a body decided we would put some guardrails in place to protect children?
That is correct.
All right, thank you for yielding.
All right.
What a noble concept. What a noble concept. We decided to protect children years ago, yet we can't take an up and down vote to do it today. Imagine that. I'll have a seat.
Gentleman to 37th.
The gentleman needs to confine, according to Rule 5, his comments to the bill under discussion.
Looks like a gentleman has voluntarily closed debate. Is there other debate? Is there further debate on the bill? Does the gentleman wish to close debate on the bill? If not, the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. There are 93 ayes, 0 nays, and 6 members absent. A majority of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 4995.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 5004, relating generally to PANS and PANDAS.
The question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? If not, gentleman from the 23rd to explain the bill, Delegate Worrell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The purpose of House Bill 5004 is to expand awareness of pediatric acute onset neuropsychiatric syndrome, otherwise known as PANS, and pediatric autoimmune neuropsychiatric disorders associated with streptococcal infections, otherwise known as PANDAS. It requires the Bureau of Public Health to work in consultation with the state health officer to utilize existing public health programs to educate healthcare professionals on evaluating and treating PANS and PANDAS. In addition, it also requires the Bureau for Public Health and its existing relevant public health outreach programs to increase understanding and awareness of PANS and PANDAS. I urge passage.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? Gentleman from the 91st, Delegate Masters, is recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Those of you that were here last year, right around about this time last year, heard me discuss my daughter Elsa, how my wife and I had been taking her up and down the Eastern Seaboard, different specialists, different tests. That's how I became aware of PANS and PANDAS. That was ultimately the diagnosis that we had arrived at. Wouldn't say exactly that's a rare condition, but definitely a rarely diagnosed one, which is part of what this bill is looking to address. In this circumstance, some children, for us it was a strep virus, contract that and sort of the body doesn't process it. And it causes these autoimmune issues that start to attack the basal ganglia of the brain, which pertains to emotion, cognition, speech. For us, our daughter had gone completely nonverbal, was sort of scared, unaware of us, barely recognized us. A lot of sleep disturbances would happen. There were many, many sleepless nights where I had to crawl into her bed with her to stop her from rocking back and forth and hitting her head on the wall. But it isn't all doom and gloom. There are treatments for this once the diagnosis occurs. Some are as simple as just a very prolonged course of antibiotics. Other times you have to, if a longer time has passed from diagnosis, have to go through a lot more intensive treatments. I've missed a day or two a session this year to get her to IVIG treatments. She's not exactly back to baseline yet, but the worst of the symptoms have resided. And it's how we sort of figure the thing out. So part of what the bill is doing is educating our medical professionals. Because this thing, for us, it presented almost looked as maybe the worst form of autism you've ever seen. But it would wax and wane. She would be on antibiotics for other things and start to get a little bit better, and then it would go back and forth and revert. And finally, we got to a doctor that had been studied in this and recognized it and got us the diagnosis. I've met a lot of other parents, including some West Virginia parents who were here. One testified in Committee on Health that have been working on it. Originally, we had some effort to maybe try to extend some coverage, but had pared it back, and I understand the art of the possible and our payer mix issues, a lot of the stuff we have going on. But I think this is a really great step. I think it's an important step. And speaking of health insurance, and there are better ways to spend a summer than finding your health insurance provider, which I had to do. Aetna, who is actually not our insurer, but I sort of now wish was. Aetna recently has just recognized these two illnesses and has even provided the coverage, including the IVIG infusions that are very expensive that we have undergone. So I think this is a great beginning and a great start, and I'm glad it was taken up, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Gentleman from 79, Delegate Hansen, is recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also rise to support this bill. Several years ago, probably 5 or 6 years ago, a constituent was in touch, and I worked very closely with her on a bill that was very similar to the introduced version of this bill to mandate coverage for PANS and PANDAS. And her experience with her son was very similar to that was just described by the delegate from the 91st. It was a very frustrating experience to get a proper diagnosis, and then once they found out what the diagnosis was, it was an even more frustrating experience to pay the medical bills. So I think this bill before us today is an important step to make sure that medical professionals and the general public are well educated about pans and pandas. And I hope we can just use this as a first step and come back and address medical coverage, insurance coverage for these issues next session.
Is there further debate on the bill? Does the gentleman from 23rd wish to close debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. We had 92 ayes, 0 nays, and 7 members absent. A majority of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 5004.
Are there title amendments? If not, title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 5059 relating to cultural heritage institutions.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? If not, gentleman the 55th to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 5059 relates to what the clerk just told us is a cultural heritage institution, which is generally a library or museum. It provides those institutions with clear guidelines on what they are to do with property that sometimes has no clear chain of title, property that has been abandoned by a donor or when donors may not be located. Also provides those institutions with guidelines on how they may conserve property that is in danger of disrepair if they cannot find the original donor to obtain that consent. That's a brief description of the bill. Mr. Speaker, urge passage.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? Gentleman the 57th, Douglas Lewis, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the chairman yield for a question?
Yes, sir.
So in this case, where if you had a museum, there was no clear chain of custody for a particular item, and they were able to maintain or acquire ownership of it, and if it was later discovered that that item was stolen or maybe it was from a country that demanded it back, is there a policy for that situation?
I think the museums themselves may have internal policies on that, and they have described sometimes what they do internally, but this bill doesn't handle that situation. It simply provides them with guidelines on what they may do if they can't locate the owner, and sometimes they've had these items for decades and they don't know who the owner is. So.
Now, in that situation in which they are, determined that they can't figure out who the owner, there's no chain of custody and title with that particular item, painting, whatever, is there a process within this legislation in which they would maybe have to do some due diligence and research first before they try to claim ownership?
They do, and there's also notice provisions in here on how they are supposed to provide notice, generally either specifically to someone they do know has some potential ownership interest, or general publication if they don't know who that may be at all.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is there further debate on the bill? Gentlemen wish to close debate on the bill. If not, the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. There are 92 ayes, 0 nays, and 7 members absent. Majority of the members voting in the affirmative. The chair declares the bill passed. Clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 5059.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 5060 relating to decentralized unincorporated nonprofit associations.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? If not, gentleman the 53rd, Douglas Levitt, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. All around the world today, people are working together in online groups that manage projects, software, and other shared efforts. But these groups don't fit into the traditional business structures of almost all states in the U.S., at least not neatly. House Bill 5060 builds upon West Virginia's somewhat unique existing law in this area to allow these decentralized online groups to organize as nonprofit associations in West Virginia. By giving these organizations clear rules, they can operate transparency under our law to do things like sign contracts and own property, have an agent, have legal personhood. In turn, our state can receive filing and tax revenue in addition to the secondary revenue to our professional services industries, resulting in even further new jobs. Passing HB 5060 uniquely allows us to leapfrog almost all other states in our country, positioning us to potentially become a leader in financial technology in the U.S., and signaling to the financial technology industry that we are a place they can come to do business. This is a description of the bill, Mr. Speaker, and I urge its passage.
Question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Is there debate on the bill? If not, those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result. On that question, there were 90 ayes, 2 nays, and 7 members absent. A majority of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 5060.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title is read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Next bill on third reading.
Committee substitute for House Bill 5074 relating to changing the allocation of proceeds in the Medical Cannabis Program Fund.
Ladies and gentlemen, this bill was advanced to third reading with the general right to amend. There are amendments pending. At this time, the clerk will please report the first of the amendments.
Delegates Height and Browning move to amend the bill. This is HFA Height 3-3, number 2.
The question before the House is adoption of the amendment just reported by the clerk. Are there objections to allowing the sponsor to explain the amendment in lieu of having it read? If not, gentleman, 92nd, Delegate Height to explain the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a pretty simple amendment. If you look at the first part of the bill, it talks about a medical cannabis program fund. And in the first part of that bill, you'll also see that $3 million from that fund is allocated to a new Supreme Court of Appeals pilot project for Child Protection Commission proposed by my friend from the 55th. Great amendment to the bill originally, and I fully support that. But there's $38 million in that fund. This takes $3 million of that to the Child Protection Commission. My amendment would take an additional $10 million and give it to WVU, and then another additional $10 million and give it to Marshall University for the research of Ibogaine. If you'll remember, earlier in this session, we passed a bill 4626 that deals with allowing Ibogaine trials in West Virginia, and that passed out of here unanimously. So this is just a way to partially fund those trials. The trials themselves are about $19–20 million per trial, so this would give each school half of what they would need to fund those trials, and they would have to come up with the other $10 million on their own. So that's essentially the amendment, and I urge passage, reserve the right to close.
Question is on adoption of the amendment just explained. Is there debate on the amendment? Gentleman, the 26th, Delegate Rohrbach is recognized on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I respectfully rise to oppose the gentleman's amendment. A similar amendment was considered by the Finance Committee and failed to advance with no votes in favor of it. At this time, we've researched Ibogaine a bit more. There are serious cardiovascular and neurotoxic side effects. I was able to find in the medical literature there have been 33 deaths from this. It's currently a Scheduled I drug because of the prolonged QT intervals and the psychotropic effects of this drug. I was also able to find that under research currently are non-hallucinogenic analogs of this, 18-MC and tabernanthalog. It appears as though the research may be going this way. This gets back to the other point of opposition to this. This state should not be in the business of funding pharmaceutical research for pharmaceutical companies. And I'm afraid that's what this bill seeks to do. Our medical schools do research on pharmaceuticals on any given day. Those are funded as part of the research cost of the pharmaceutical companies. For that reason, Mr. Speaker, I respectfully oppose this amendment.
Gentleman, the 37th, Delegate Gearhart's recognized on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentleman yield, please, sir?
Yes, sir, certainly.
When the Ibogaine bill came before us, I asked, if I'm not mistaken, the chairperson that presented the bill about funding. And at that point in time, he indicated that there wasn't any funding, that would possibly be looking for a grant or something of that nature along the line. Was this the original plan to fund this, or did it just happen that the dollars popped up in the Finance Committee and we thought we might be able to grab them while they were there?
That's essentially how it happened. There was no intentional way to fund this. We just wanted to get the trial started, and then we were going to have to find the money at a later time. And then this came about. We saw this in the Cannabis Fund and said this may be a good way to fund it.
Some opportunity presented itself, and you decided to take advantage of it.
You are correct, sir.
Okay. One other question. Are you aware, are there private companies that have claims to the rights or patents for this particular?
No, sir. There are several companies throughout the world that make Ibogaine that is used for treatment. Two major manufacturers, one in Canada, one in Brazil.
Do any of them have patents pending?
Not that I know of. This is a naturally derived.
So they're not
plant.
applications for those currently pending?
No, not
Okay,
that I know of.
That's adverse to my research, but that's okay. Is it fair to say, though, that there would be companies that would utilize the research that West Virginia dollars would produce in order to manufacture and distribute this particular drug for their own personal company's gain?
I would certainly hope so.
Okay. So this is in fact, our research would be for whomever that might in fact produce this. It would not necessarily produce any dollars back to the state of West Virginia. Obviously, there's a gain by if it's successful research. I get that. But this wouldn't, our dollars would in fact go out without any particular avenue for them to come back.
You could look at it that way, yes.
Thanks, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman, the 64th, Douglas Burkhammer is recognized on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to rise in support of the gentleman's amendment, and just to kind of bring light to Ibogaine. And I think everybody knows here I'm against really anything drug-related, alcohol-related, all of that stuff, and I've made that well known. And so I began to hear about Ibogaine, and at first I put it in that exact same category and said, this is bad news, and we don't want to do it. But then I continued to hear about Ibogaine and the successes that it's having outside of our country for Americans. I actually have a constituent that will soon be traveling to Mexico to get an Ibogaine treatment. She's been struggling with substance abuse for many years, and nothing is working. And so right now, our options are Suboxone and Methadone, and oftentimes those are a lifetime prescription, a lifetime of staying on those drugs to combat substance use. And what Ibogaine has to offer us is a one-time treatment. Literally a one-time treatment is curing people of substance use. It's helping with traumatic brain injuries for our veterans, PTSD for our veterans. But here in West Virginia, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but we have a substance use problem. And Ibogaine, I believe, has the opportunity to be what we've been needing for a long time. But we need to move these dollars over there so that we can research this so that West Virginians can benefit from a naturally occurring substance. That it's not a manufactured pharmaceutical. It's a natural substance. It's an intense treatment, one time. And so I hope you'll support the gentleman's amendment. I appreciate him putting it forward. Thank you.
Gentleman, the 47th, Canterbury.
Would the gentleman, the sponsor, yield, please, for questions?
Gentleman from 92nd, yield.
Yes, sir.
This is not currently an FDA-approved drug?
That is correct.
So with these clinical trials, is the purpose of them to achieve FDA approval?
That is correct.
Are you aware that there are 3 phases of FDA approval, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3?
That is correct.
Do you realize that phase 1 is safety and is the safety trial? It's approximately $4 million. Do you know that?
Yes.
And as the gentleman here previously alluded to, that there were some failures. But this phase 2, would you know that, of course, that's to confirm efficacy, and then third phase is confirmation? So are you aware that the grand total cost of 3 phases of clinical trials is $124 million? Are you aware of that? That's one of the averages that's been printed or published?
So I am not. What we've talked to the research institutes, and the preliminary estimates that they have given us was $19 to $20 million. So that may be just for the initial stage. I don't know. That's just in talking with them.
$124 million. Did you know that 66%, according to statistics, 66% of all drugs that go through phase 1 clinical trials fail due to safety reasons? I found that stat online. Are you aware of that?
I was not aware of that.
That 90% fail overall. Were you aware of that?
Okay.
Okay. Speak to the bill at the appropriate time, Mr. Chairman.
To the primary amendment, gentleman is recognized.
Okay. Thank you. The cost of 3 phases of FDA clinical trial, according to statistics, is $124 million. That's $4 million for phase 1, $20 million for phase 2, and $100 million for phase 3. 66% of all drugs fail on phase 1, 90% fail overall. Basically, there's a 90% failure rate in aggregate for trialing new drugs. The thing is, what they're trying to do here is crowdfund an effort to get clinical trials and FDA approval for a drug that can't be patented and therefore can't be profitable to a private company, which is fine, maybe even a laudable goal, but here's the problem. $124 million is far beyond the capability of the state of West Virginia. We can't do it alone. And not only that, but since the benefits accrue to the whole country, it isn't even rational that a state that represents approximately maybe 0.5% of the nation's GDP should in its very limited budget, contribute a significant percentage, a third or fourth, of the cost of a clinical trial that has a fairly limited chance, I would think, of succeeding, particularly given the safety data cited by the gentleman, the delegate from Huntington. And I would certainly urge rejection, because I don't think that this is although I think it's laudable, I don't think this is a responsible use of taxpayer resources. Thank you.
Gentleman from 54th, Doug Pushkin's recognized on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I believe that Ibogaine does have some medicinal properties, and it has its place. First of all, let's talk a little bit about what it is. It comes from a tree bark in another continent. It's not grown anywhere near here, not manufactured anywhere near here. And what people have used it for successfully is for a rapid detox, because it's an incredibly powerful hallucinogen that would knock you out. And that's why you have to have doctors on staff to watch heart rates while people are using it. But it's a rapid detox, so people would be removed of the physical dependence on a substance without going through the withdrawal sickness. That's all it does. And that's just the first step in a long journey for recovery. It is not some kind of magic cure for addiction. Far from it. In fact, there isn't a cure for addiction. People learn to live with it. But you go through this, you might get over the physical dependency, but there's still the mental aspect of it. There is an emotional aspect of it. There's a spiritual aspect of the disease. This does nothing to address that. So yeah, it gets people, and there are other ways to do rapid detoxes as well. This will get people off of the substance physically in a short period of time without them getting sick. That's what it does. I don't think it's a good use of $10 million, though.
From the 88th, Doug Hildenbrand.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Appreciate everybody's interest in the dialogue on this. First, I'd like to tell you that ALEC, the American Legislative Exchange Council's Veterans Task Force, this past summer, 2025, brought Ibogaine and psilocybin to our attention as a couple promising Schedule I drugs that they believe can be very helpful in treating veterans, but all people that have specific medical issues, as just described by my friend in the 54th. The other parts that are important here, it was pointed out, yes, there have been some deaths. They were apparently significantly done in unsupervised situations, which that's probably not a big surprise. But I'd also remind you that this very body here, just a few weeks ago, passed HB 4626 unanimously, 96-0, saying, yeah, we ought to take some funds and create a grant program to research this directly. So as a member of the Veterans Caucus and as a member of this body, while I certainly don't encourage reckless and recreational use of drugs, I think this is something worth investing in and looking at. I realize research takes a long time. $10, $20 million isn't going to get it all done at once. The information out there on the web indicates it'll probably be at least 5 or 6 years before they can get any solid answers. But if you don't start, you don't finish. With that, Mr. Speaker, I'll be voting green on this amendment.
Is there further debate on the primary amendment? Gentleman the 100th, right now is recognized.
Will the Vice Chairman yield?
Yes, sir.
Okay, these are simply trials, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and other states are considering funding similar types of funding to support these types of trials, correct?
That is correct, sir.
So this could be, in fact, a number of states who contribute funding to a trial over many different institutions to try and come up with solutions and determine whether or not Ibogaine is both safe and effective.
You are correct, sir.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm sorry, folks. If we're going to vote for something on Ibogaine and say, yes, we're going to try and take care of veterans and other individuals with PTSD, then we should be trying to help fund that vote. I mean, it's somewhat disingenuous for us to vote for something that we say we're concerned about, veterans and others, and then not fund it. This is a means to fund it. This was, as the Vice Chairman indicated, an opportunity to do the same thing that we did a couple of weeks ago, where we said, yes, veterans and others with PTSD are important to us. This is something that we should be funding. We should be taking care of our veterans. We often take very minor votes to give veterans these small support issues. This is something major. We need to try and take care of our veterans. We need to take care of those who do have PTSD, because there are others beyond just our veterans who have PTSD. This is something that's within our society. It's something we should be addressing. I will definitely be voting yes on this, and I hope that others will as well, and will actually vote for the same thing they did about, I think, 10 days ago, maybe 2 weeks ago now. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
From the 12th, Chris is recognized on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentleman from the 26th yield for a question?
Certainly.
So I'm not 100% understanding how this medical research funding process is working. So, and we do a little bit of that at WVU, is that correct?
To fund research, yes.
Yes, and most of that funding comes from private organizations, is that correct?
The gentleman's correct.
So if we allow this to happen, then we could be subject to a lot of private research people coming and standing in line and asking us for money for other things. Is that correct?
Sure, why wouldn't they? I mean, if pharmaceutical companies can get us to pay what they typically would pay for, I'm sure they'd like us to pay
And the
that.
reason they have monies to do the research is because they use the profits from prior drugs to be able to continue to do the research and run the chicken and the egg process. Is that correct?
Gentleman's correct.
So we need to let private industry, as some of these people have indicated that they want more private industry to come to West Virginia to do the research. And one of the places obviously was WVU, but I understand too that the Osteopath School is going to provide research facilities in their new facility along with Marshall in their new facility. Is that correct?
Gentleman's correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you, sir.
Well, and to the gentleman, if this would pass, to go back to your statement, this is somewhat akin to we're starting to pick winners and losers here. We're going to fund some people's research and not others.
All right, sir. Thank you very much.
Gentleman from the 92nd to close debate on the primary amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. 25 to 30,000 deaths since 2000 related to substance abuse in West Virginia. West Virginia has led the U.S. in per capita overdose rates since 2010, finally leading in something. Ibogaine has shown promise outside of the U.S. in treating substance abuse, traumatic brain injury, PTSD, depression and anxiety, OCD, eating disorders, Parkinson's, tardive dyskinesia, and MS. Unlike other treatment drugs for substance abuse, like Suboxone, it has no recreational value. In 2024, 30 male U.S. Special Ops veterans with mild TBI from repeated blast concussion and combat exposure suffered severe PTSD, depression, anxiety, and addiction were part of a Stanford study. After the study, a single treatment of Ibogaine, approximately 87% saw a reduction in PTSD, depression, and addiction symptoms. Those were sustained at 1 month when the study ended. 13 other states right now are contemplating the same actions, and Texas has already passed funded legislation for $50 million for trials. But West Virginia is at the epicenter of substance abuse. So much so that we devote $13 million per year in our annual budget for treatment. Our prison system spends $4.2 million per year on Suboxone. We all know somebody that's affected by addiction, probably someone you've lost. I guarantee you this seems like a small amount in retrospect. Let's start to end this scourge on our society. Let's fund the trials that we voted unanimously to pass for trials. I urge adoption, and I ask for the yeas and nays.
Debate on the amendment has been closed. A roll call was requested on the amendment. Is the request sustained? Request is sustained. Question is, shall the amendment be adopted? Those in favor of adoption of the amendment will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. There are 47 ayes, 46 nays, 6 members absent. More than a majority in the affirmative. The chair declares the amendment adopted. Clerk will please report the next of the amendments.
Delegate Worrell moves to amend the committee substitute. This is HFA Worrell 3-3, number 1.
The question is on adoption of the primary amendment just reported by the clerk. Are there objections to having the primary amendment explained in lieu of having it read? If not, gentleman from the 23rd, Delegate Worrell is recognized to explain the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the heels of the vote yesterday on the camping ban, I said I was committed to helping address homelessness. This would take $5 million from the balance of monies in the fund to be allocated to the Division of Primary Care to expand and enhance services addressing homelessness. That's an explanation of the amendment. I urge adoption.
Question is on adoption of the amendment just explained. Is there debate on the amendment? Gentleman from the 26th, Delegate Rohrbach, is recognized on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to respectfully urge rejection of this in discussion with the Chairman of Finance, and we'll get into the bill in a minute. But the funds that are going to be withdrawn from this, $38 million, frankly, are already in the budget in other places, and now there's $20 million less in the budget. But for that reason, I would urge rejection of the gentleman's amendment.
Question again is on the primary amendment. Is there debate on the primary amendment? Gentleman from the 57th, Delegate Lewis, is recognized on the primary amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would rise in support of the gentleman's amendment. I think that, using these funds for things that are going to have an immediate impact, such as homelessness, we all experience in our own communities, and this money can have a direct impact now. So I think it's a wise use, a primitive use of the money. So I will be in support of the gentleman's amendment. I hope you will be too.
Gentleman from the 50th, Delegate Pritz, recognized on the primary amendment.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to stand in support of this proposed amendment as well. The only reason I voted no on the camping ban, even though I agree with the principle and what they're trying to do, I understand the issue,
is that the only homeless shelter in all of southern West Virginia was closed last year. So there is literally nowhere for any homeless person in Raleigh, Fayette, Nicholas, Wyoming County, and the entire region to stay. There is nowhere for them to go. And so this kind of thing is absolutely necessary, and quite frankly, this is the kind of thing this money should be spent on. So I stand in strong support. I think it is a very wise allocation of money, and it will pay dividends in the long run. So thank you.
Is there further debate on the primary amendment? If not, Chair recognizes the sponsor, gentleman from the 23rd, to close debate on the primary amendment.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker. The Division of Primary Care is under the Bureau of Public Health. They currently have the free clinics and the FQHCs that they deal with, and they do grant and funding opportunities for them. So that's why I chose to have this office. I think our free clinics do an amazing job throughout our state. They would be best served to help provide these, to go and combat homelessness that we have throughout the state. So that's why I chose that office. But I once again urge adoption. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Debate on the primary amendment has been closed. The question now is, shall the primary amendment be adopted? Those in favor of adoption, the roll call is requested. Is the request sustained? Request is sustained. Those in favor of adoption of the primary amendment will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result. On this question, we have 59 ayes, 34 nays, 6 members absent. Majority of members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the primary amendment adopted. Clerk will please report the next of the amendments.
Delegate Linville moves to amend the committee substitute. This is HFA Linville 3-4, number 1.
Question is on adoption of the amendment just reported by the clerk. Are there objections to having this amendment explained in lieu of having it read? If not, gentleman, the 22nd, Delegate Linville, to explain the primary amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment is more clarification and technical than perhaps some of the others. This is about what goes on with the monies after what's already in the fund are distributed, and how these dollars are distributed year after year moving forward. In the initial underlying law that we're seeking to modify, there was some portion of the dollars that went to 2 different items for police training, one of which is actually already funded and was funded in 2019 after this law, the underlying law, was initially handled, and that's the Law Enforcement Professional Standards. You can find Chapter 30, Article 29, Section 4. So after discussing with the Department of Homeland Security and some folks in the executive, this amendment simply strikes 40 and inserts 20 for the Division of Administrative Services, Justice, and Community Services section for grants to local law enforcement agencies for training, drug diversion, and other programs focused on crime and addiction, and to pay expenses of the division in administering this grant program, and those expenses may not in any fiscal year exceed 3% of the funds allocated. We're effectively talking about, the estimates are about $1 million a year. I certainly urge adoption. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Question is on the primary amendment just explained by the sponsor. Is there debate on the primary amendment? Gentleman, the 26th, Delegate Rohrbach, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of the gentleman's amendment.
Is there other debate on the primary amendment? If not, the question is, shall the amendment be adopted? Those in favor of adoption of the primary amendment will please say aye. Aye. Opposed will please say no. Ayes appear to have it. Ayes have it. Chair declares the primary amendment adopted. Are there other amendments to the bill? If not, the clerk will please read the bill a third time as amended.
Committee substitute for House Bill 5074 relating to changing the allocation of proceeds in the Medical Cannabis Program Fund.
The question now before the House is, shall the bill pass? Are there objections to having the bill explained in lieu of having the bill read? If not, gentleman, the 26th, to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The purpose of this bill is to deal with our Medical Cannabis Fund. As we've already alluded, there's $38 million in the fund. We've never drawn any of this money. This bill seeks to change that. Of the $38 million currently in the fund, as amended, we will take $3 million to the Supreme Court of Appeals for a Child Protection Commission pilot program, $20 million for ibogaine research, and $5 million for homelessness. Then the remaining approximately $10 million will go to the general fund. Then beginning on July 1, 2026, there'll be a reallocation of how those funds would be applied going forward from that date. 15% would go to the Office of Medical Cannabis for administrative purposes. 15% to the Department of Agriculture for testing of medical cannabis, which shall occur at the West Virginia State University lab when operational. 20% will go to the Fight Substance Abuse Fund. 10% will go to Marshall University for cannabis research. 10% will be allocated to the West Virginia University's Rockefeller Neuroscience Institute for substance use disorder research. And finally, 20% will be allocated for the Supreme Court of Appeals for, 10% will be allocated to the Supreme Court of Appeals for child protection. And then 20%, as we just amended the bill, to go to the Division of Justice and Community Services. That's a summary of the bill, and that's a summary of the bill, Mr. Speaker, and urge passage.
Question now is on adoption, or it was on passage, rather, of the bill as just explained by the gentleman, the 26th. Is there debate? Gentleman, the 54th delegate, Pushkin is recognized on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the gentleman yield? Okay. Now, the fund that we're talking about here, it was created through the Medical Cannabis Act that passed. We were both part of that back in 2017, correct?
Gentleman's correct.
Okay. And where does the money come? Does it come from was it from the startup money when people were applying for licenses, the application fees? Where does the money come from?
Well, the majority of the money comes out of the tax money that has accumulated, as the gentleman recalls. There was a tax placed in the bill that the gentleman just alluded to. So it's the initial monies that were gained plus all the tax money that's accumulated in the intervening 7 years.
Okay. So through the medical cannabis law that we have now, we've accumulated $38 million through excise taxes, sales taxes, and then the application fees and licensing fees. Is that correct?
Gentleman's correct. It's somewhere just a little less than 38 million is the current balance.
And in the bill back in 2017, we directed that money to be used how?
Well, that's, okay. You have to go back to the abstract here. Okay, the initial allocation was 55% to the Bureau of Public Health, and the other 45% as follows: 50% to the Fight Substance Abuse Fund, 40% to the Justice and Community Services Fund for grants to local law enforcement agencies for training, drug diversion, and other programs focused on crime and addiction, and 10% to a special revenue account to be distributed by the Law Enforcement Professional Standards Subcommittee of the Governor's Committee on Crime, Delinquency, and Correction for law enforcement training, development, and certification administrative costs.
Okay. So
and then this bill seeks to change that allocation I've already described.
I got that. My question is, why is that left over after we've already paid money out, or has that money just been accumulating and we never followed the initial act from 2017 to spend the money the way it was supposed to be spent?
It appears as though there's never been any withdrawals or allocations of these funds per the original bill, and now we're seeking to get a different allocation and get those funds all recovered.
Okay. And why is it that the money hasn't been spent?
I believe there were some banking issues.
You believe there were some banking issues?
Yeah, I think the treasurer had some issues with the banking laws.
Okay. One last question. Are you familiar with an amendment that's made annually for the continuing resolution in Congress called the Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment?
I'm not, but I'm sure you can elaborate.
Thank you for yielding. Thanks for you. There's an amendment, Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment. It passes every year overwhelmingly on the congressional continuing resolution, how we fund the federal government. Says that federal funds cannot be used to prosecute legal cannabis programs. So there's absolutely no reason why the money should still be sitting there. It was, I believe, a mistake made by either the banks or the Treasury's Department or whomever. But there's absolutely no reason why that money should still be sitting there. We directed that money to go to a certain way it was supposed to go, and it's just sat there. And now we're reappropriating it, it seems kind of silly to me because it shouldn't be there. We passed this back in 2017. It is legal in this state. The money that comes in is legal, and it doesn't matter who the U.S. attorney for this district or the northern district is. It doesn't matter. There is no money from the federal government that can be used to prosecute anyone for a legal cannabis program in any state. Thank you.
Gentleman from the 4th, Douglas Flanagan is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Permission to speak to the bill?
Yes, gentleman is recognized.
Thank you. So back in 2016, I think a lot of us, well, maybe not a lot of us were here, but I was, and we had put forth several bills that would have had adult use cannabis on the state. And as I watched our debate today regarding the where these funds were going to go, lots of hands were reaching into this pot of money. And can you imagine how much money we'd have if we'd been ahead of Ohio and Maryland and the rest of them? And instead, we've sat back and put our heads in the ground and said that nobody in West Virginia wants to see that happen. And I don't know, I just kind of like to have seen us have a bigger pot of money we could have been getting into right now. I'll be voting yes on this. I think it's a good idea to finally get this money moving. We could have had a lot more of it. Thank you.
From the 12th, Douglas Chris is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When this bill passed back in 17, there was an issue about the monies. And I thought it would be appropriate to explain what happened at that point. The banking system in this country has restrictions from the FDIC and from the Federal Reserve. And known drug money is very difficult to place in the normal banking system that we have. Our current official bank for the state of West Virginia, whose offices are downtown here in Charleston, recognized that even though it's medical cannabis, but it is on the Schedule I program. As a few of you who are here, and I recognize a gentleman from Raleigh County that knows what I'm about to say, that when the FDIC shows up on a Friday evening and says to you, you have taken drug money, you are in violation of your federal deposit insurance agreement. Therefore, tomorrow you are closed, and Monday morning you open up under a different name and a different management. That's how it works. There's no recourse on the current ownership or the current management. They simply just take your bank away from you because they are there to protect the depositors, and drug money in your bank is a no-no. So it was very difficult in the beginning. In fact, the former treasurer, Perdue, had to explain to this body at that time exactly what I was talking about. So we did find a credit union, I believe, that would take the monies, but we have never accessed the money. Never accessed the money that we have accumulated. This is the first opportunity to do that. There's been negotiations between the current treasurer and the official deposit bank for the state of West Virginia to actually transfer that money over to the bank. That's why this process is about to start. So we're hoping that, one, that the official depositor will not be in violation of their quote-unquote STARS program with the FDIC, and that they may be in violation and lose their insurance process. If you lose your FDIC insurance, you lose your charter, either national affiliation or state affiliation. And again, somebody else will be owning that bank on Monday morning. Thank you.
Lady in the 56th, Doug Young is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the chairman yield for a couple questions?
Of finance
Yes.
or health?
Finance.
Gentleman yield.
Sorry,
Yes.
I wasn't clear. Okay, so it sounds like this was was this just a policy that they weren't willing to?
No, it wasn't a policy, it's the law. Because drug money, since the late 70s, I believe, there is what we call a suspicious report that we have to file if we accumulate cash. That's where the limit on cash started out, that when you got above $10,000, you had to file what we call a STARS report on activity for businesses, legitimate businesses, to be able to deposit $10,000 cash or more. If you had a customer come in with a seldom opportunity to put $10,000 cash in their account, then you had to file these reports, and then they were moved on to the authorities to follow up. And it was an opportunity for the drug people that enforce our drug laws to be able to look at deposits.
How have other states managed to do this for, I would say, decades at this point?
There are some states that literally some of the cannabis dealers would pay a fee to enter their safe at the bank, the vault, and pay a fee to deposit monies in a security box. And then they would pay a fee to withdraw that cash every time they walked through the vault door. Other ones have gone to credit unions. Some have gone to local savings and loans that are still existing at the state charter level rather than the national charter level. But it is a problem. It has been it is one of those continuous problems in Colorado, for instance, on finding places to put this cash into the system.
But it sounds like we found a place, which I believe was a credit union,
That's
right?
correct. But again, the reason they had to go to a credit union is because the state's depositor, the bank that we use as the official West Virginia bank to do business with our vendors and so on and our employees, was suspicious of the drug money, and it was their policy that they did not want to be involved.
The other banks were suspicious?
No, the Federal Reserve and the FDIC, they were concerned about losing their ability to stay in business in the state of West Virginia by not having their FDIC insurance.
Okay, but then we did take this money, and other states have done this as well and pushed it into their general revenue.
Well,
so ours has just been sitting there for a long time. And so what exactly has changed to where we're suddenly cool with spending it?
I've been not privy to the information or the negotiations between the current treasurer and the state depository bank.
So is the current treasurer okay with it and the previous treasurer was not okay with it?
No, it was the fact that the negotiation, it's taken this long to get the depositor comfortable with the opportunity to take that money. So everything, again, I'm not privy to the details of the conversations or the negotiations, but evidently, since this bill has come about to release these funds, there evidently has been an opportunity to do this, and that the current depositor of our state funds has gotten to the point where they're comfortable. I can tell you that a lot of the banks in West Virginia, and they know this, a lot of the banks did not want anything to do with it because they felt they would be in violation, and they did not want to lose their FDIC insurance.
Okay, but we found one that did, so that's kind of irrelevant, right?
Well, we found a credit union that will take the money.
Okay, and so when did they become comfortable? Recently?
Evidently recently, because that's how this bill arose.
But if they became comfortable with it recently and it was fine, a month ago or however long it's been, why did that money not go where it was currently directed in code to go?
It's a policy decision because in fact, the money has not moved yet.
But isn't it a policy decision that was decided on whenever that was originally decided?
Yeah,
I guess if it's directed within current code, why didn't it go there whenever the policy was okayed?
Well, again, the policy evidently just changed recently, and I don't know exact date when the treasurer and the depository made the agreement to do that, because out of the credit union, we could not disperse but any place, because again, it was trying to put money into the regular system, and our regular system, the contract with the credit union was not to be the bank, the official bank of the state of West Virginia.
Okay, all right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Gentleman, the 87, Douglas Howell is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will Finance Chairman continue to yield?
Sir.
So currently, what's the total sitting in this credit union? Do you have that?
I believe it's between $37 and $38 million.
My question is, most credit unions tend to be small. If we suddenly withdraw that amount of money from a credit union, what would its stability be for the rest of its customers?
I'm not familiar with the credit union. I don't deal with credit unions.
If it was a local bank and you suddenly withdrew $37 million, wouldn't that have a pretty negative fiscal impact on that bank?
No, not on the bank.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there further debate on the bill? Gentleman from the 5th, Douglas Fluharty is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. While I'll rise to support this legislation, I want to make everybody aware this fund is in jeopardy. In the past year, border counties in West Virginia have lost 1,128 medical cannabis patients. Why? Because those patients are going elsewhere to a regulated recreational adult use market, like Ohio. In the Northern Panhandle itself, we've lost 260. So this fund, while we're here talking about 37 to 38 million collected over many years, our neighbors are talking about hundreds of millions of dollars and thousands of jobs. And we wonder why we can't compete. Backyard brawl, heard that a few times. We're not competing with our neighbors if we're talking about $37, $38 million over a number of years with a depleting medical cannabis program, while our neighbors like Maryland, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, who just put it into their budget, are moving forward in 2026 and beyond, and we're stuck in 1926. So while I'll support the legislation, let's at least wake up and realize we're not competing with our neighbors when it comes to one of the fastest growing industries in this country, pun intended. Thank you.
Is there further debate on the bill? Gentlemen wish to close debate on the bill. If not, the question before the House is, shall the bill pass? Those in favor of passage of the bill will please vote aye. Those opposed will please vote no. The clerk will prepare the machine. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk will please close the machine and ascertain the result on that question. There were 79 ayes, 12 nays, and 8 members absent. A majority of the members having voted in the affirmative, the chair declares the bill passed. The clerk will please report the title.
Committee substitute for House Bill 5074.
Are there title amendments? If not, the title as read by the clerk will be and remain the title of the bill. The clerk will please communicate the action of the House to the Senate. Gentleman the first.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the House stand in recess until 1 o'clock.
Gentleman from the first moves that the House stand in recess until 1 o'clock. Those in favor of the motion will please say aye. Those opposed will please say no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The House is in recess until 1 o'clock.